zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let.
Ring, ring, ring. Hello, priest. Happy Saturday, and welcome back to the magical Krown's Crypto Cave.
Well. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It's a nice little early start to the Saturday morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. For all of you who are coming back from a late night at the bars or the clubs or whatever the fuck you're doing on a Friday night from the Western Hemisphere, hey, I want to welcome you back and wish you well. And of course, for those of you who are waking up in the early morning hours, sharing a cup of coffee with myself this morning, well, welcome back as well. And today after Black Friday, I should denote that all the programs are on sale for 20% off. In fact, I'll actually just show it right now. This is the new website, by the way. You don't need a code or anything like that. It's already built in. If you are looking for video explanations of these programs, well, there's one right here and one right here for the appropriate programs. And I always want to remind people that these are 35-hour plus long programs each. So individually, they are at least 35 hours long. And it says 13 hours here, but it's a lot more than that. Anyways, more importantly with it, I always want to make sure that's a good fit. So if it is, if you are on the fence, just reach out to me on Discord. It's more important to make sure that it's relevant to you rather than just jumping in FOMO. And these things aren't designed to like make you FOMO or anything like that. The big thing with this is that we want to make sure that it's right. And with regards to that, understand that these programs are really designed for people who want to do this in a more serious manner, typically speaking, as well. They're not only a big financial commitment, but a time commitment as well. So I want to make sure that you can actually get the full value out of it. And realistically, that just comes down to time and dedication. What else do we want to talk about before we get into the actual content today? A lot of new updates being pushed out on the Krown trading app, which by the way, all the people who are in the technical analysis program or the options program or the jewel program will have access to right now and have had access to for the last couple weeks. If you're still kind of on the edge or still unsure of how to access it, reach out to me on Discord or just go to the member section on Discord and go to the Krown Trading app channel and then hit the pin section on there. You should be good to go. And of course, for the public, it's going to be coming out for the greater public. It's going to be coming out in middle of December is what we're aiming for. We're actually going to bring back the jewel at that time as well. But a lot of things still need to get hashed out. And man, there are so many integrations that we're discussing right now, which make me so fucking excited. For example, for the people in the programs, you're going to be able to, after this week, you're going to be able to actually take notes on the videos, like as the video goes. You'll be able to curate everything that you see on the page itself. And we're going to be adding, CME tickers. We're going to be adding, all the live data feeds, which is going to be really, really helpful. So you won't have to pay for trading fee for that. And what else? Oh yeah, funnily enough, we're actually even speaking about potentially having a tax, like a tax tool on there, as well, most people for those of us who do pay our taxes, I think that's just massively relevant and just kind of it gets rid of that fear. Also, big fucking news today. First and foremost, the interview, just like the podcast with Mr. Dr. Jacob Canfield is going to be coming out. And what's up, Joachim Hines? Good to meet you, man. Pleasure to welcome you into the cave. But the podcast with Dr. Canfield, I want to get it right, want to be respectful, is going to be coming out today. I have it scheduled for in a few hours after this video releases. And then and really, I really enjoy talking with him. Like he's great. He comes from just such an interesting background, and to see where he is right now, I think is just not only inspiring story, but just highly relevant. And what's up, Bioniasos 41? Good to meet you, man. Welcome to the cave. And then also another pleasure to announce, Silicone is actually going to be coming on to the podcast, hopefully next week. Really excited about that because I actually really like Silicone's trading style. I think that he verifies himself. And all the people who have been on the podcast thus far, the common factor is, well, not only their stories, but their verification of their trades. So I'm really, really excited to speak with him. I know that there's, probably some controversy surrounding that, but I want to go into it with an open mind, as I would suggest, everyone do, because I mean, at the end of the day, man, you don't really know someone after watching like a few videos of them, really want to like sit down and chat it out, speak about his trading experience, how he kind of got started, the same thing that we've been doing with the podcast guests. And you'll probably notice that there's a lot more in common than not. This general story that we see amongst all traders is really, 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 really universal. And so I'm really excited about that. Of course, sometimes things fall through, of course. So, I don't want to put any pressure on him. But hey, so far, have some cool things lined up, and really looking forward to that. I want to also remind people, there's someone trying to go around and scam people with a similar email to mine. It's not me. I'm not looking to trade your account. I have no interest in trading your account. So if you give them money, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but understand that it's not me 100%. And more importantly, the whole purpose of this channel is not for me to do your trades or do the thinking for you. Not that you even want that, because I'm an imperfect trader myself. And more importantly, my sort of day-to-day trading strategies can be wildly different and wildly, not even applicable to others out there. So that's really the crux of this channel, is that we all kind of come back. We all kind of come from a similar background, and we're all working towards something. And in that way, you can come together as a community and build something bigger. So that's, so basically, in short, I'm not looking to start a fucking mutual fund where I'm trading other people's money. I just don't even see the advantage in trading other people's money. It's at first I'd be probably making less money than I do trading my own accounts, but more pressure, more responsibility, and potentially even illegal as well. So I have no interest in doing that shit. I don't want to bring up any more. I don't want to bring on any more pressure than I really need on myself. So with all of that said, what else do we want to get into? I think that's about it, man. Let's talk about some goddamn magic and money business right on over here. Now, first and foremost, I do want to say, and I do want to be very transparent with saying that I am still long from the video that I showed yesterday. Still the same position, and yes, I did get rid of about half that position, or a little bit less for that position, but I am happy to stay long as things are right now. So let's get into it right now. Daily had a pretty damn good closure, and more importantly, we're going to really be focusing on the weekly and of course the monthly, which is going to be closing tonight. So the highest time frame closing the soonest is the monthly, and the monthly, which has already been set in on CMEs and GBTC because they closed yesterday for the trading week. We could actually see what they closed at, and looking at CMEs right here, they closed at 7,800. Or actually take above 7,800, 7,805, it looks like after hours. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we're very, 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 very likely to see spot price action close around that region. What would that make the monthly look like? Well, this is where things really start to take on a different meaning to myself, actually. Looking at the monthly right here, if we do close above 77.50, even and if we close somewhere around where CME's closed, which was 78, as there doesn't seem to be too much of a premium on these guys right now, where would that put us at? Where would that put us at? It would actually put us above all major moving averages on the monthly, above the 10 simple, and that is my trigger for saying, hey, maybe we actually are looking at a reversal off this level right here. Of course, I would still want to see spot price action follow through. Right now, the 10 simple on the monthly is at 77.33.5 on stamp, and we are trading at 77.43.5 on stamp. So that's Bitcoin can fucking sneeze in a second and move up a few hundred or down a few hundred, completely destroy that. But assuming that CMEs are something to go off of, which I do believe they are, and I do believe that's the most important chart in cryptocurrency land, then we probably do end above. And if we do end above, I will be looking for this rally to get extended into the lower 8,000s, very likely, and potentially we do even have a reversal on our hands from the lower time frames. And the monthly is still kind of in an uptrend. Yes, we did set a lower high right here, but if this is going to be our higher low, that's actually a phenomenal higher low. And above all major moving averages, with the positive slope on both the red 10 simple and the yellow 21, I can't be bearish off that, at least for the next month of trading action. And I would say that we probably gear up for another test back up to the upper 8,000s over time, if that is to happen. So of course, still a lot of time between now and the end of the trading day, but something to keep an eye on. And I will be holding this long for a lot longer if we do end above that area, very, very likely. So seeing as things are right now, let's look at the momentum oscillators on this baby, and they do offer up a lot to be a lot to be aware of. Monthly RSI is not good. This is a clear rejection of the exponential, and to me, it looks like it wants to have another stab down. That's not good at all. I would be bearish off of that. Monthly Stokes are crossing down and rejecting the bullish control zone as well. I'd have to be bearish off that as well. So it is going to be a little bit of a weird read here, and I actually don't. It's like I actually don't know what to make of it. No, I don't know what to make of it. And I want to be very open and honest about that. Oscillators would suggest down. Price action, moving averages say don't look for that down to happen like today. So I would still wait for the actual closure. If we do move up into the upper 7,000s, lower 8,000s by end of day, that's going to make these oscillators look a lot better. It would be a lot easier on this price action if we actually did end the monthly RSI above the exponential on this next tick. That would be an obvious play to me, but right now it's still below, which is rather difficult to kind of make much of. So let's go over here to the weekly. And again, going back to CME's closed the weekly above the 89 exponential moving average, which is good enough for continuation to me, very, very likely. And if we do get that continuation, I want to go over to spot and see what that would kind of look like right in over here. Now, we're obviously well above the 89 on spot right here, but that's going to become the next sort of pivot point to the downside. And as long as we're above that pivot point on a weekly, there's no real reason for me to be looking for the next major leg down. Now, of course, the weekly trend is still very much down. There is a lot to be left to be desired on this chart, but we can retain a weekly downtrend and still rally up all the way into the upper 8,000s, lower 9,000s, which, if we close the weekly like this, it's going to look a lot more likely, or at the very least a test into 8,300-ish region right here. So at the end of the day, even if Bitcoin even is still bearish on the macro, we can have a nice move up here, and I do think that this likely gets extended, assuming that we close the monthly above that critical level. That would be my next big thing. The daily, of course, did hit our target to the upside, 78.50, actually overshot it by $20, so crazy. Krown's wrong again. No, just kidding. Vinron, hey, what's up, man? Good to meet you. Well, I technically am wrong again because, well, $20 above my target, but same thing. And I am happy to stay long off this. I actually do like this price action right here. And this next 2 days worth of price action is going to be very revealing. Usually when we get across like this between the yellow 21 and the blue 3.7 exponential moving average, right at a major pivot point on the market, it's either going to be a major rejection, meaning we're going to put in, a couple dildos right here, just kind of going sideways and then just absolutely spill the fuck on over, or we absolutely just crush it to the upside and, make our way up to the next relevant region, which as we looked at on the weekly would be around 8,300-ish region, give or take about $50. So remember, Bitcoin can still make that move and still retain its downtrend on the weekly. So still, this is the time to be a trader, not to be like a long-term investor or a long-term doomsayer, I suppose. Again, I would be happy to change my position here, but the relevant levels to the downside for me are actually best seen on the lower time frames. This breakout right here above 7630-ish region, that I played yesterday, as long as this area is defended on a 4-hour dildo closure, preferably 4-hour, could go as low as like maybe an hourly or 2-hourly, if you want to be a little more aggressive. And I probably would. I will take the profit, but also the position off if we do kind of droop back down below this level once again. But hey, as long as we defend this, to me, the direction is up, even on the lower time frames as well. Momentum oscillators are probably absolutely crushed here, or really, really tired here. We see 4-hour Stokes stuck up there, but that's okay during your strong trending moves. It's your RSI that you want to be aware of on your trending moves, and that looks fine as well, actually. Making our way up to test the bullish control zone for the first time in a while, and actually flagging out above the 89 exponential moving average right here, as the jewel is in a more bullish posture, to be fair, does suggest that. So we can go sideways here for a little bit, and if we do take that next leg up, shorter term time frames would suggest a range between about 80.50 to 81.50-ish region. So that's what I'd be looking at for right now. But that also means that if Bitcoin does violate this structure right here, again below about 86.50, 86.30-ish region, then I would be looking for this to ultimately collapse, at the very least back down to 73.50-ish right here. Sorry, did I say 86.30? I meant obviously I meant 76.30 region. So that's essentially what I'm looking at right now. We are about to get a pretty good moving average cross on the 4-hour dildo time frame between the yellow 21 and the green 55. And typically, when you get a cross like that, price action will will result. And next relevant region to the upside is going to be about 80.50. So again, I'm still going level by level, even though the higher time frames are starting to create a bias. The monthly is looking okay as it is. The weekly still very much a downtrend. Still very much leaves a lot to be desired. So this is not the time to be a fucking fortune teller or palm reader, right? It's time to be a trader, at least in my opinion. And of course, this channel is always focused on trading. And I forgot to talk about this. Holy shit, man! Last night had a video with K-Dub from Crypto Zombie. I fucking love that guy, man. That guy's awesome. He's just such a good friend, is what he is, man. But it's very like oh man, it's very revealing to see like a lot of the hate towards him, like especially in the crypto tube universe. It's like, man, I guess because he's gotten so big now, he's kind of a target for people. But he's just giving out news, man. That's all. He's not like he's not like pretending to be a trader. He's not like pretending to know the future. It seems to me like he's pretty fucking honest, man. So I don't see what people's issues with him is. It's probably just for clout, like people just want to, people know that if they put his name in a title, other people will recognize it. And it's like kind of like a YouTube type thing. I don't know, maybe people do hate him as well. Fair enough. People are entitled to their own opinions, right? But I think that says a little bit more about them than him, right? It's all about intent at the end of the day anyways. If he doesn't intend anything bad, you can't get mad at that. You can't fault good intentions. So anyways, I don't know why I'm getting on this tirade right now, but yeah, as far as the lower time frames go, next relevant area to the downside, again, 76.30ish region. If we do close even like a 2-hour dildo below there, I would be looking for this price action to collapse back down to 73.50, about 73.50 to 74.50, and probably even lower than that over time. It's going to start to look bad. But for now, it looks, if we close the monthly above that critical level, I will be looking for continuation. First and foremost, here's how the lower time frames are looking, even below a 4-hour. We do see 3-hour Stokes looking like they want to cross down. We are getting wedged up quite a bit there. What about 2-hour Stokes? 2-hour Stokes snaking around back up to the upside, and hourly Stokes are down. So the lower time frames are suggesting that we actually do have a pullback here. The problem is that if we have a pullback and we destroy this structure, this whole structure takes on a different meaning. And if Bitcoin is going to have a reversal here, you're not going to, if Bitcoin, okay, man, I need to be very careful with my words. If Bitcoin is going to have a legitimate reversal here, meaning we're going to start to trend to the upside on the higher time frames, like a weekly, then it's very unlikely that we will get a pullback back down in this region right here. So it would be a major warning signal if we even violate the breakout that we saw from yesterday. And what you want to see if you are bullish on Bitcoin and if you want to see a trend reversal is you want to see a bit of sideways within this region, consolidation at a higher level above all major moving averages on the lower time frames, and then yes, that would allow them to kind of reset and push upwards and onwards, and look for the RSI to be the next sort of governor of like a legitimate pullback on the lower time frames. For right now, this looks more or less healthy to me, and looks like it probably does get continuation. Next relevant region going to be about 7,900 on the hourly. That's not all that impressive. And then like on a 4-hour, probably between, like we said, about 80.50 to 81.50ish region. If we can close above that region on a daily, that's where things get a lot more interesting, as we spoke about before. Typically when we get across like this, it's either a death sentence or it's going to get shot right on through. And to reapproach this cross this soon after having it very aggressively, might I add, is typically going to be more on the bullish side. And I want to take a look at my momentum oscillators here to kind of decide this one. We do see daily soaks straight to the fucking moon. However, they are right at the edge of the bearish control zone, which typically you do get pressure around there. So if we are going to have a rejection here, if this is going to be a trap, if this is going to be further continuation of the downside, it likely happens from this area right here. If it does not happen from this area right here, Bitcoin will get a move up into like the 83.50ish region, and we'll kind of do the same thing there. And then after that, if Bitcoin can clear that region and undo the death cross right here, then we'll very, very likely get a test up to the 200 simple on the daily, which is about 9,400, and that's about where the weekly pivot is, where the weekly pivot lies. So if we get back above there, we could actually change around the weekly trend potentially. We would have a higher high. We wouldn't have higher lows just yet, but we would have a higher high. So it's in place. It's a topic of conversation. So again, a lot of things really need to happen before that becomes, viable. But for right now, all the opportunities in the lower time frames, in my opinion. Looking at daily RSI, what do we have here? We're brushing up at against the edge of the bearish control zone. So usually are going to see a pullback from this region here. So I wouldn't mind a day of sideways action here in a range between about 76.50 and wherever the 21 is at about 78.50. And then kind of like after that Sunday, Monday, we're very likely to either see if we're going to have continuation, we'd likely see it around then. If we don't have continuation by Monday, Tuesday, I would say that this takes on a more bearish interpretation, and we likely do fade this whole move to the upside and come back down into the lower 7,000s and, probably trend to the downside after that. Going over here to the 2-day, we do see that 2-day Stokes are looking for across the upside, and they will confirm this later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, assuming that we close here or higher, or even just anywhere above like 7,500. And look at this. We have this trend line coming in all the way back from early October. So this is about a 2-month trend line right now, getting all of the great lows for the last 2 months as well, coming in right here on this guy. So getting a nice... Get a nice 14.5% move. Then we got another signal right here before we got this signal right here actually for a 40%. I'm not necessarily saying that we're gonna have a 40% move off that, but put in perspective, pretty damn impressive. And thus far, we've probably done about a 14% move, right, or 20% move. Actually, pretty damn good off the lows. But keep in mind where are we brushing up against on the 2-day, the 200 exponential moving average, which we are going to see the 10 symbol cross the downside of that. So what do I put more weight on? Well, it's not that I put more weight on something, it's how we react at this level. If Bitcoin can close this next 2-day dildo above the 200 exponential moving average, which is 78.50, I do believe that we will see a more prolonged stint into the the mid 8,000s. So it's tradable, and we will see momentum oscillators turn back up, which have been more or less pretty damn good. Not only that, but we will see the RSI regain the exponential on this baby as well, and likely test up to the 21 at that point, which is around 8,200, and I'll be looking for a short-term pullback around there. So again, it's hard to do the long-term analysis right now because there's so many missing pieces, and we're just 1 day away from this happening. But because we are 1 day away from it happening, let's actually go back on over to the monthly and check out something that I typically check out, just a few days during the month, because it doesn't change all that much, but it's called the accumulation distribution indicator. If you've been in this channel for a while, you already know the relevancy of it, but basically I only care about slope on this baby, and this one's retaining its positive slope thus far. So the next tick on this will be very revealing. Do we continue to have a positive slope, or does it flatten out? If it flattens out, that's going to be a good sign that we are, that we're not ready to reverse any sort of long-term trends. If it retains its positive slope, I would be bullish off that. The slope of this indicator, again, I don't care if it's red or green. It means nothing. It just means it's Christmas. but I only care about the slope of this. The slope has gone, the down from 10,000 all the way to the 3,100 low absolutely perfectly, and from the last market cycle in 2015 lows, or 2014, 2015 low, to the $10,000 high, years later, and then same thing, on the downfall before that in end of 2014. So, of course, there's not too many iterations on it, but it would be a lot more confidence-inducing for at least continuation back up to perhaps even 9,000 if we do retain that positive slope. We could retest 9,000 and still be bearish. Remember, the weekly trend does not change until Bitcoin goes back above 9,500. Okay, so we spoke about all of that. What about the triple day? Triple day had a pretty damn good closure, and now I'd be looking for the 200 exponential moving average and the 200 simple to be major pivots on price action. The 200 exponential moving average defended quite well at 7,300, and of course the 200 simple much lower at 7,000. But remember, the 200 simple on the 3-day is very important for long-term trend. And I'm going to take, well, I don't want to take everything off right now because I'm just going to put them right back on. But just look at the white moving average right here. No racism here, but it's been a pretty damn good phase indicator of where we are in Bitcoin's history. Not too many iterations on this, but when we're above it, generally bullish. Here's your bull markets right here. When we're below it, generally bearish. Here's your bear market right here. Here's your bear market right here. Another bull market right here. The fact that Bitcoin has held off of it thus far is good. Doesn't mean that we're out of the woods just yet, though. And you're very likely to get a good response off of it, kind of on your first major test down to it after being away from it for a while. So, it just kind of aligns with this still likely getting a little bit more airtime to the next sort of relevant region, which on a 3-day would be around that 83.50-ish region that we were speaking about on, I believe it was the weekly. So keep your eyes on that. Again, nothing changes here, even from that perspective. We're still in a downtrend, but there's upside to be had in the lower time frames, is what it's looking like to me. So, even if we made like a very simple channel right here, we could fill out the top side of the channel all the way up to 93, 9400 and still retain this downtrend. Now, of course, a falling channel usually breaks to the upside more, but at the end of the day, we can stay in a falling channel for years. And I've certainly seen many equities that have stayed in falling channels for fucking, decades in a sense. So I don't think that Bitcoin's going to do something like that. But this 3-day closure right here does insinuate that we probably do see another test of the upside somewhere in this region right here. Looking at 3-day Stokes, we are still coming down, but we're losing momentum to the downside, to be fair. 3-day RSI is bearish as fuck, actually. But I don't really have too much to make out over it other than that. So other than that, I'd still just be going level by level. As far as the macro goes, to the downside, 73.50 is like your first major warning signal. Below 7,000, like that's all, that's very, very bearish at that point. Let me get rid of these alerts. I don't need them anymore. And to the upside, next relevant level is going to be like, well, on the lower time frames, about 7,900. On the medium time frames, about 8,300, and then just take it level by level. I mean, that's really all that you have to, really all that I'm doing as a trader. Of course, everyone has their strategies and whatnot, but right now, I think the simplest strategy is the best one for me to employ, of which I've been doing on Bitcoin for the last few months, and it's made life a lot easier, and it's been pretty damn successful. So, fair enough. Anyways, let's go back and check out the 12-hour. I haven't looked at this one too much. 12-hour, pretty damn good closure above the 21, and I would look for that as a pivot on this time frame as well, and it's coming in around that 76.30-ish region. So we do see a lot of structure built up within that region, and I would say that I'm comfortable holding longs, or at least holding my long, because I started it much lower. And again, verification for that one is on the video yesterday. And let me just make sure that I'm recording and the microphone's working. Okay, great. Good time to do it when you're already 26 minutes into your fucking video. But yeah, again, here we do see momentum also just pointing back up. 12-hour Stokes way up there. They've been phenomenal for the last like 8 to 9 months. 12-hour RSI maintaining this composure above the bearish control zone. Now, I do think that we will come back down and test around the bearish control zone during the next sort of correction. But assuming that we don't destroy structure here, that's completely fine. So, do we get another push up first and then correct? I think that's more likely. If that happens, I'd certainly look for a more extended run into the mid 8,000s essentially. But for right now, we're still kind of in limbo, and I really would hold off on making any sort of long-term decisions until I see the monthly close. If we close the monthly below the 10 simple, I will actually let go of all my longs. I won't necessarily short on top of that, but to go back to the monthly for a second, because I didn't flesh out, I think, all the ideas that I should have. If we do end the monthly above the 10 simple, I'm cool with holding longs for a little bit longer. If we close the monthly below the 10 simple, which again is 77.34, but above the 21, which is about 7,100, I would be looking for a range. I'd be overall bearish, but I'd be looking for a range for like between about 7,000 and 8,000 for the next month to go on. And I'd probably look for big sells in that lower 8,000, upper 7,000 region. If we, for whatever reason, close the monthly below the 21 exponential moving average, I would be immediately extremely bearish and probably look for a move all the way down here into the mid to low 5,000s, and then probably even lower than that over time. So a lot of things can happen between now and the end of the day. But looking at CME closures and seeing them kind of close for the monthly already and the weekly, it leads me to believe that we see more of an extended run up into the upper 7,000s, lower 8,000s in the short term, medium term timeframes, and that's going to offer up the potential for the higher timeframes to actually have a reversal. But again, it's not happening anytime soon. The weekly 100% does not even get a higher high until we close the weekly above 9,500. So as a trader, I can't even trade the weekly trend until that changes. And the weekly trend on Bitcoin has been incredibly powerful. Just blindly trading the weekly trend, anytime that it shifts, has gotten you every major move in Bitcoin's history, not at the ultimate high, the ultimate low, which I'm never going to get those moves. I was bullish over here at 20,000, although I wasn't necessarily like buying or anything like that. But once we set in this lower high right here at 16,000, then took out the low before at about 15,000, that was my key to get the fuck out of this market. And then same thing for the upside right on over here, which at that point I was actually doing YouTube videos. So I do the videos to verify that. I was bearish down here. I wasn't necessarily selling down here, to be fair. I was selling right on over here. But once we actually flipped around this trend and got a higher high right above 3,900, 4,000, well, that's when I went long. So I'm never going to catch the ultimate high or the ultimate low as a trader. But the momentum shift, and I would say that that's actually even more important, thinking from an opportunity cost standpoint, is that's just a weekly trend, and all of the weekly trends in Bitcoin have played out really fucking well. Anytime that we set in a lower lower low, lower high on a weekly, usually like a 70% retracement or more throughout the history of Bitcoin, and vice versa for the upside, except a lot more than 70%. Anyways, looking at the weekly for a second here, a little bit longer. Of course, do we have a head and shoulders on the weekly? Yes, we do. But here's what's very interesting about what could happen with this next weekly close potentially, and potentially next week as well. If we do close above the neckline of this proverbial head and shoulders, which, left shoulder right here, right shoulder right here, double head right here, completely fine. It's Quasimodo motherfucker. If we do close above the neckline of it, which I would say is about, you could just use the 55, the green moving average at about 79.50-ish region. That to me would be indicative that the measure move off this head and shoulders is no longer valid. I no longer have a measure move pointed all the way down to the mid to low 4,000. So that could very easily be undone as early as this Sunday. It also means that, as long as we're closing below this, that's very much valid. It's very much within the charts, and do have to be kind of defensive against that move. And, again, weekly trend is down. And of course, it could also happen next week as well. And it actually does look like we probably get, at the very least, a test into this region. Do we close above this region is the real question. That's what changes it around. So as long as we're closing weekly totals below there, it's still within the cards. I would say that the probability of it happening is diminished, and we can actually look at probabilities right now. Speaking of, getting the daily on over here, credit to Mr. Ballypour for this one. We do see a 68% likelihood to stay between about 7,600 and about 7,950 range for this next day worth of trading action. So we could it's looking like we probably do maintain that. Less than a 5% chance to move below 7,300 or above 8,220 today, and less than a 1% chance to move above 8,500 or below 7,100 today. So the downside protected, very, very likely for the end of this weekly. In fact, if we do put on a 2-day closure and actually account for the weekly close, we can do that. Let's do this. Yeah, so 68% chance that we end above 74.50, below 8,100. It'd be very unlikely that we'd violate that critical $7,000 region to the downside. Be less than 5%, well, actually less than 2.5% chance right here. Also less than a 2.5% chance that we end above 84.20 right here. So fair enough. That is interesting, because we will be able to see the monthly close with that, and the probability is that we probably do close above, or we probably do close, or we have a very, very likely chance that we actually do close above that 77.30-ish error region that is so critical right now. In fact, I think if you were to kind of cut that one in half, it'd be about 34%. So decent, decent enough. Anyways, so this head and shoulders can very much be undone relatively soon, and that would be excellent. I mean, we also do have weekly Stokes pointed back up, although they're very weak right here. So it doesn't mean much right now. Of course, anything can happen between now and Sunday, but as they are right now, if we close here or higher, I would look for continuation into the mid to low 8,000s, actually. Weekly Jewel is bearish. I don't like this read. I'm getting very mixed signals. The more that I look around, this is what makes trading very difficult. And this is why I'd rather go level by level. But I do want to account for everything right here. What else do we have? Weekly RSI is certainly more on the bear side as well. I don't like that read. So fair enough. And let's see, what is volatility looking like, by the way? And what's up, Alex Kujovsky? Good to meet you, man. Hopefully I'm getting your name properly, and welcome to the cave. Volatility is actually rather low on a daily, funnily enough. So we're actually set to see expansion with momentum kind of pointing up on the higher time frames. That expansion likely goes to the upside. So, man, funny how things change around so quickly. I can't really be bearish on the macro as long as we're above, especially 7,200 and 7,000. So shit. this does have potential here. I think at the very least it does get another try to the upside. And the next pivot from a daily is again about 7,900 to 8,000 bucks. If we can get above there, I would look for a move all the way up here, and that's when we start to test the death cross on the daily, the green 55 and the purple 200. If we do start moving back above the 55, which is 8,350, 8,400, that's going to set up another test up to the 9,400ish region where we could potentially make a higher high on the weekly. So things are interesting again. Things are very interesting here. And I do think that, regardless of whether you're bullish or bearish, I would still be looking for upside here. Just remember that the long-term downtrend that we're looking at on the weekly is still very much intact and is not going away for another like $1,500, like $1,600 or so. Anyways, let's see. How did GBTC close the week out? GBTC closed at 957. Rejection actually on GBTC. So fair enough. Could we get rejected at this level and droop back down? Yeah, absolutely. It's not all said and done right now. It's not all said and done. Again, the way, or at least in my opinion, the way to be doing this is go level by level. Weekly Jewel is in a bearish posture. This is not a sell signal, but it is in a bearish posturing. I want to go back to the CMEs here. Do a little bit more deep dive on that. We only looked at the weekly thus far, but daily on CMEs regaining the 10 simple does to me look like we want to test back up towards 8150ish region. So not bad. Daily Stokes pointed back up. Daily RSI regain the exponential does look like it wants to test that the outside of the range right here. So that would offer up a little bit more upside potential in the shorter term time frames. 12-hour also had a pretty damn good closure. I'd probably be looking for a retest of this area right around 7750ish region. That's fine. And then continuation up to the next level, about 8150. Yeah. So things are interesting here. I want to be open-minded that Bitcoin actually could reverse, but keep those levels in mind. Don't get carried away by the fun in this market. As a trader, I have to kind of remain a little bit distant for that. But hey, I'm always going to be happy for people when Bitcoin's rallying and shit like that. I'm always going to be happy for the bears when Bitcoin's falling as well. As a trader, you can't get you can't fall in love with this asset. It doesn't love you back. I'll tell you that, man. Bitcoin does not love you back. Bull Jesus loves you. Bear Jesus loves you, but Bear Jesus probably loves you more over the long period of time. Anyways, what else do we want to talk about? Let's go talk about Bitcoin dominance for a second. Or actually, no, I want to go over here, the Bitcoin VWAP ratio once again, just checking in on it. It's still very bearish, very fucking bearish. Anytime that we've gotten the signature, we've had this down right here, 70% down, this down right here, another 70% down, this down right here from this bull trap, 70% down, this down right here, 70% down as well. This guy right here, another 70% down, and this guy right here, like 94% down. But, that signature is very much present. And as long as we have the blue below this regression line, it's hard to negate this sort of a thing. So, what does this suggest? It suggests that we probably have some short-term upside, medium-term upside. We probably put in a lower high somewhere in like the mid 8,000s perhaps, and then play out some downside displeasure once again. So, get everyone bullish on the other side of the trade and then dump it on their faces. But likely it's going to take its time. I don't think, perhaps like the most healthy thing for Bitcoin to do would be to range between about 7,000 to 9,000 for the next few months, leading into the halving. I think that would probably be the most bullish thing for Bitcoin to do. I don't think that Bitcoin's, reversing the trend anytime soon. And if anything, we'll get continuation of trend. But I wouldn't be looking for continuation of trend coming off this area right here. I think that for right now, we are short-term bullish. Just long term, it's still, hard to undo that. It's hard. What has been seen cannot be unseen. Anyways, what else do I want to talk about while we're here? Let's go check out Bitcoin dominance. I'm going to imagine that that's probably ticking up right now. As we said was likely this week, I'm still looking at a target towards 70%. And yeah, ticking up here, and I do believe that we have some more room to go, probably back up to 70% over the next couple weeks. I like this, getting accumulated on the 21 exponential moving average, and I do believe that most alts are going to be getting cream pied in their bungholes relatively soon. In fact, looking at Mr. Cardano's moving up actually, so fair enough. Maybe not so much, but nice rejection that we see from yesterday. To me, I think most alts are going to be ranging in this region, and they're probably putting in tops around this region on the whole. Not every single alt, because we do have a lot of alts that are kind of like running on their own. But if we're going off the Bitcoin dominance, I'd have to say on the general sphere, I'm probably looking for most alts put in tops on the weekly and then come back down to the median of the range. So something like this would be right around like a little bit below 500 Satoshis. Let's see what Link's doing. Yeah, Link's coming down as well. Looks to me like it wants to base again on this 28,500-ish region. I still think that's fine from a long-term perspective. Weekly still fine, but we're likely going to have a retracement. If we do violate that 28,500-ish region, I would be looking for a move down to 25,500. Again, still longer term. I actually like this chart, but it can very much afford a pullback. Let's see. What about the crypto total market cap? I'm curious how that baby's looking like, as it actually has been decent recently. Okay, so the weekly's popping back up here. How does the monthly look like? We probably don't have enough history on this one. Should do a good monthly. Come on, monthly, show it to me. Yeah, we're nowhere near the 10 simple on the monthly, actually. It's all the way up above 215 billion. So we will very likely close below. So this would be more on the bear side. Absolutely. We do see monthly Stokes looking very tired at the neutral zone. And we do see monthly RSI looking very similar to Bitcoin and looking like it wants to nosedive here. It does not look good. That is bearish. Absolutely. So the crypto market as a whole, still a little bit in limbo. Let's go through the other top shitcoin. Highly advanced, technologically advanced altcoins, of which I hear that Mr. Vitalik is going to North Korea soon. It's like, okay, you didn't learn your lesson from posting about fucking child pornography, did you? Anyways, looking at weekly here on Mr. Buterol, same thing. It probably has some upside, but you're not changing around the trend until you even get above like 191 on a weekly closure. Weekly Stokes looking weak here, no pun intended, but looking like they want to cross the downside. Weekly RSI is bearish as fuck. We probably do rally up here maybe for a couple weeks, set in a lower high somewhere in this region in the upper 190s, upper 180s, and then perhaps have continuation of the downside. Looking at the triple day, we can rally up here a little bit, but I'd still be looking for pressure a little bit higher. So if Bitcoin's not going to reverse, I highly doubt that Mr. Buterol reverses, but if Bitcoin does reverse, then we probably do see this reverse. And same thing with Litecoin. Bitcoin typically sets a pace, and Mrs. Litecoin, what are we seeing right here? We do have some bullish divergence coming off the low, so I do like that. We probably do test back up towards 54, 55 bucks. But again, the downtrend is strong in this one, my friends. The downtrend is strong, and we are well below the 200 simple on the weekly. I have zero reason to be bullish on any asset that is living below the 200 simple. Doesn't mean that we can't rally up, and we certainly can rally up all the way again to like 55. But you don't even create a higher high on the weekly until you get back above 64 bucks and close above there. So we're probably in for a short-term rally across the market. Could it turn a reversal? Yes, but it has a shit ton of work to do. I'd probably still be looking for continuation of trend, ultimately speaking. What else do we have? Stellar. What's Stellar doing? Very, very strong downtrend here. You don't need me to tell you that. This has just been straight down. Monero. Same thing. Having a nice comeback here, but again, it is bearish as long as we're below $6.5. Ripple me nipples. Bearish as long as we're below the 200 simple, which is literally at the last prior high at 30. This is very bad. Very fucking bad. This thing can rally up all the way to like 26.5 cents and not change anything on a weekly. EOS, same thing. Not as bad as some of the others, but same. Looks like Mr. Buterol. Neo, very bad. Hit our 950 target to the downside. Looks like it wants to pop back up towards $10, but I'd probably be looking for a rejection there. Still, long-term trend is down. Tron, same thing. Same thing. Bcash. Oh man, not the same thing again. God damn. What about Zcash? This is the real Bitcoin. What about BNB? BNB probably put in a rally as well. So yeah, to me, it looks like the market wants to rally short, medium term, and trend is still very much heavily down on all the higher time frames. So it's hard for me to get bullish until we actually see a reversal off that. If Bitcoin, it's not like if Bitcoin does hit in a lower high here or something like that, and then dips back down around, the levels to the downside that are relevant to me are one, the level that we just bounced off of, so that's about $7,000. If that level fails, then I would be looking for a potential bounce in the lower six. Well, we already kind of tested in the lower 6,000, but technically 62 to 6,300 would be the next area of interest. Below that area, I'd be 55 to 5,400, and then below that area I'd be looking at 44 to 4,300. So as long as Bitcoin is still living below those critical levels, that is actually the more likely thing to happen, to be fair. So for now, I am long on Bitcoin. I am going to retain my longness on Bitcoin, and if we do violate this area right here, to kind of sorry, I should wrap this up. If we do violate this area right here, especially on like a 2-hour close below, let's call it 76.50, I will be looking for a move back down to about 74, 73.50ish region, and that's going to destroy the structure and start to make it look a lot more droopy and start to really destroy the monthly. But for right now, if the monthly closes above 77.30ish region on Stamp, I will be looking for another push higher, likely into the lower 8,000s at the very least, and then we'll come back and reassess. Remember, the weekly trend doesn't change until we get back above 9,500 on a weekly closing basis. Doesn't mean that it can't, but we have a lot of work to do. So I'd much rather take things level by level. For right now, I remain cautiously bullish. I do think that we probably make another foray up into the upper 7,000s, probably another test today actually. And then if we can close above, 79.50, I would be looking for extension into the 83.50, 8400ish region coming into the next week of price action. It still doesn't mean that we can't be bearish on the macro, but hey, Bitcoin would likely get another try up there. And of course, the monthly is the biggest thing to me right now. If we close the monthly below 77.30, 77.50, I would be looking for, I'd be overall bearish, and I'd be looking for a range to emerge for December between about 7,000 to 8,000, and then likely continuation into the next year to the downside. So a lot of things to be aware of here. It's probably not that helpful of a video because there's so many contingent points with this, but that's fucking trading, man. And this channel is focused on trading, and it's also insightful into my programs as well, because I can't tell the future, and maybe there's some people out there who can tell the future, and fair enough, more power to them. But as far as trading in the way that I've learned it, and the way that I understand it, the way that I've applied it, going level by level right now is the most appropriate thing to do. And for now, a little bit short term up, and then reassess after that. So without further ado, I would like to wish you well on this nice Saturday morning over here from a very dark Helsinki, Finland. Finland doesn't really have like Black Friday, but because it's so dark here, it's like every day is black, Anyways, of course, the discount on all the programs still going on through Cyber Monday. And with all that said, man, I want to wish you well. Take care, and until next time.